Hey folks, it's Mr. Majewski. I'm here with presentation 4 on sectionalism. It's going to be a shorter video because we're going to finish up a little early. We only have 22 slides left to go. We're going to begin with slide number 108. It is the election of 1860. Oh boy, is this a big one? Maybe the most important election up to this point in our nation's history. Well, here's the problem for the Democrats here in 1860. They're divided, they're split. And we know already from our history what that means. You almost never win if you're split. Well, what happens here is the northern wing of the Democratic Party is going to nominate Douglas. Southern wing refuses to support him. Remember, he didn't support the Kansas being added as a slave state. Then he made that mistake during the Lincoln-Douglas debates where he acknowledged he would still support popular sovereignty. They nominate a Southern Democrat. His name is John C. Breckinridge, so they're split hopelessly. Alrighty. By the way, the Southern Democrats' platform was to extend slavery everywhere, including Cuba. Alrighty. On top of that, the South runs a second candidate. He's called the Constitutional Union Party. They kind of wanted to preserve the Union. So we had kind of this random third-party candidate, this Southerner, as well. Ultimately, they're going to take some votes away from moderates in the South, and ultimately make it easier for the Republicans to win. The Republicans nominate Lincoln, alrighty, and they established their real platform for the first time, their official platform. They don't want to extend slaves. By the way, we're on slide 111. They won't extend slavery, all right, into any new places where it doesn't already exist, but they won't take it away from those places. They want protective tariffs. They're a northern party. Makes sense. They are not going to take away rights from immigrants, alrighty. They support a transcontinental railroad in the north. They want internal improvements, free ones at federal expense. Not free, but federal expenses for them. They want to open up homesteads, free homesteads for Western farmers who are struggling from the Panic of 1857. Southerners, remember, promise if Lincoln's elected, no questions asked, we're going to secede, alrighty, or at least Southern extremists do. They're ultimately going to do just that. Slide 112 is a flag. It shows an American flag, a Republican campaign flag during the campaign. Oh, it's political cartoon time. 113, we see a fist fight going on here between Douglas supported by an Irishman, and Lincoln, supported by an African American. And John C. Breckinridge is in the background. He's on his way to the White House. This was a pro-Breckinridge, pro-Southern support cartoon, kind of making fun of the fact that the Northerners were split. Alrighty, this is awesome. This was actually a commercial. This was for National Glue. These are the four candidates. They're ripping apart the nation, taking their various parts of the country that they think they were going to win, right? And what's happening here? John Bell, right, the guy who's trying to keep the nation together, is using National Glue to try to glue it together, all right, to glue it back together, all right. So the message here is these three are ripping the nation apart, but Bell here is the only guy trying to keep it together, all righty. So that's a pro-Bell message. This is a great one as well. This is a pro-Lincoln message. Here you can see Lincoln. He's so tall. What's he doing? He's jumping ahead of the other candidates. They all have their little comments about him, about how this long-legged abolitionist is getting ahead of them. And ultimately the message is they can't catch Lincoln. Well, the reality is they can't. Now, not because Lincoln dominates. He won with 40% of the vote. That's the lowest popular vote in American history. It's because four candidates ran. Alrighty, they split the vote amongst themselves. The two Democrats, John Bell, the Constitutional Union guy, and then Lincoln benefits from that. He has enough support to win the election. Again, low popular support. But he wins every northern state, ultimately, he gets all of his votes from northern states, and it's enough to win the election. Alrighty, so Lincoln's your president. Now the South still controlled Congress, they still controlled the Supreme Court, but they felt like now that Lincoln was president, slavery was going to be gone from them. Ultimately, folks, southern states are going to secede from the Union. We're going to move to 119. It starts with South Carolina, doesn't it always? South Carolina is the first to secede. They voted unanimously in 1860 to break away. 6 other states in the Deep South, not surprisingly, the Deep South states agree. James Buchanan's technically president when these states secede. He does nothing to stop them. In April of that year, of 1861, 4 more southern states, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee, join. Alrighty. The South forms their own country. It's called the Confederate States of America, the CSA. Its capital was in Alabama, then they moved it to Richmond, Virginia. Their first president is Jefferson Davis. He had been an American senator. He had a lot of political experience in the United States government. Alrighty. Again, slide 121 is an image. It shows you kind of the order in which the states broke away, just as you would expect. It started with the deep southern states. All of them were the first to secede. Later on, they were joined by the states we consider to be in the middle South. Again, the border South states stayed loyal to the Union. They never technically seceded. Now, hey, there were plenty of pro-Southerners supporters in those states, but they didn't have a majority control of the government. So the official position of the government was, these are northern states, alrighty, and they remained that way the entire war. Alrighty, slide 122. Buchanan is considered such a terrible president in a lot of ways because he did virtually nothing to stop this, folks. He didn't really prevent this secession. He didn't believe the Constitution he didn't believe he had the power to stop it, if you can believe it. He's right, the Union Army wasn't ready to fight in that regard. He didn't believe they were, and they were not. He had a lot of Southern sympathy. He had a lot of Southern advisors. Ultimately, he just decided he kind of was going to let Lincoln handle it himself, and so he was viewed very negatively, very weakly. Why did the South secede? Well, they believed that in the long run, the political balance favored the North. They hated the Republican Party. They hated all the criticism, the abolition. They believed they were being interfered with. Their life was being taken away from them. Their lifestyle was being taken away from them by these Northerners. And so they believed they could resort to extreme responses. Slide 124. Many Southerners actually thought the North wouldn't stop them from breaking away from seceding. They thought that they would be unchallenged. Ultimately, they were wrong on that. Alrighty. Some of the other factors as well, slide 125. Many Southerners wanted to break out, become independent, and no longer be reliant on the North. They thought the only way to do that might be secession as well. Slide 126. Southerners actually believed they had the moral high ground. Alrighty, they believed that they were right to do this. They didn't feel like they were being bitter, like they were being spoiled children or anything. They felt, hey, we only got into this Constitution, into this country, because we thought we had the right to get out of it anytime we wanted. And so they kind of viewed themselves as the moral ones, as the righteous ones. Even though obviously they're defending slavery, they saw themselves more as along the lines of like states' rights defenders. Now, slide 127. There was one last attempt to try to keep the Union together. It was called the Crittenden Compromise, or the Crittenden Amendments. It was proposed by a guy whose name was Crittenden. It would have kind of prevented slavery, kind of gone back to the Missouri Compromise in a way. It would not have allowed slavery north of 3630, but all other places it would have held open to popular sovereignty from now on, like Cuba. It was rejected by Congress. Ultimately, it was rejected by Lincoln more than anything. He basically said, hey, enough's enough. We can't compromise any longer. We're going to have to settle this the hard way once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, the conflict, the Civil War, is right around the corner. 129 is one of our memory devices. It's an important events leading up to the Civil War. These are major. You need to know every single one of these. Alrighty. Secondly, in particular, you need to know those events, on the 129 slide. 130. There's a memory device. Miss Nully almost gagged and plays kangaroo bit dead John's ear. Same thing. Alrighty, if you work better with memory device. Alright, folks, next time we see each other, we're going to be going over the Civil War, politics and economics, followed by the war itself, the military part of it. Those are smaller sets of notes. On top of that, they are not, especially the last one, the war, that is not questioned a lot. It's very short. In fact, I'm going to gloss over it so quickly. Alrighty. So anyways, this was the heavy lifting. This was the big burden. Thanks for being here. Thanks for following along so far. Looks like we just got 2 more sets of notes to go, and they are easy ones to get through.